So, welcome back to Final Fantasy XIII-2, and you know what? Let's just pretend we didn't meet a large woman dressed as a bird.
I am entirely fine with this plan.
Because we can't let Atlas shut this place
So
down.
what are we
We need
doing?
to search the ruins.
Well, as Noel is helpfully expositing right now, we can't let Atlas shut this place down because we need to find the gates in it. So, we're gonna go stop Atlas.
We'll do it your way.
I don't see why we can't let Atlas destroy the place. I mean, wouldn't it make our job easier?
Maybe? I don't know if I trust these guys quite enough to give a definitive answer to that question.
Yeah. Oh hey, a totally random encounter.
Oh yes, that was definitely not scripted at all, no sir.
And hey, they're named after a terrible character from Final Fantasy VII. I mean, other than the fact that it's totally scripted, is there actually anything remarkable about this fight at all?
Not at all. This is just a basic introduction to the monsters and, well, it actually does have a purpose, we'll see after this fight, but...
Yeah, I mean, I know the fight has a purpose, but...
But no, these particular monsters are just it's an introduction to the monsters of the Brescia Ruins.
And hey, a thing happened.
Look at those crystals! Well, I wonder what that means.
Well... It's almost as though we've stumbled upon the main mechanic of this game.
The monster turned into crystal.
Servant of time.
What?
I love when Mog tries to be all serious and mysterious.
It talks.
Wait, what do you mean?
Also, the Mog has been talking for quite a while, Noel.
Over monsters?
I don't know why he was so surprised by that.
Lightning had monsters fighting with her in battle.
So yeah, obviously we can control monsters, and that is the third big thing here.
Protect myself.
That's how we get our third party member.
Yeah, it's like a rite of passage for JRPG sequel series, is that eventually you get to capture monsters and use them in battle. Always.
So now that the game is done with that stupid cutscene, let's actually talk about how this works. We have a full list of every monster that we've ever captured on this screen here, although I think it maxes out at something ridiculously big. I don't think you can actually have every monster ever.
Yeah.
But you can play dress up here.
Well, you can put exactly one accessory at exactly one point on a monster. It's not the most involved system.
But, alright, so as you can see in the upper right there, each monster has one role. So, like, the Kaishi there is a...
It's a medic. It's definitely a medic.
Yeah, this Zwerg Scandroid is a Ravager. That is the only thing they can do. But you can assign up to 3 of them as your paradigm pack, and this is what allows you to make the 3-man paradigms.
So basically you've got Sarah and Noel and a group of 3 monsters. So choose well. I think also what's quite important to point out is that Sarah and Noel can be saboteurs and synergists, but they kind of suck at it.
Yeah, basically, monsters are, in general, even though they can only do one job, they typically do that job much better than Sarah or Noel do.
Yeah, they're like serious specialist types. It's like Square realised that saboteurs and synergists were a little bit too useful. So they started doing things like they have a whole bunch of specialised monsters with, like, you can have 2 different synergist monsters that know different stuff. So you can put them both in your pack, but then you'll only have 1 spare slot. So something strategy, I guess.
The other important thing to note about monsters is that they actually share HP. Not directly, of course, but if the Zwerg Scandroid gets knocked down to 50% HP during a battle, and we change paradigms to something that includes XIII-2, then when XIII-2 comes in, he will have 50% HP, regardless of the actual HP difference between the two.
Basically, the monsters are like... They're like a party member, except when they swap jobs, they also swap stats. So, you know, some things to think about. Here's something else to think about. Monsters can get ludicrously powerful, and are the absolute fastest and most efficient way to break the game neatly into over your knee.
They say now there's a couple of things up there you can see. It has a trait it has a trait hexproof and a whole bunch of other shit. But the short version is that they level up using items. In this case, each item, in this case we had the Potent Droplet, which has a rank of 1, which means that can only be used on rank 1 monsters, which is what we have right now.
This is how they stop you from making your monsters too powerful, is by gating everything behind the availability of rarer materials.
Right, and the gist of it is that as they level up, they increase in rank, and then they need more powerful, they need higher rank items to use the Crystarium.
Also, there's different items that you can use to level them up that affect their stats in a whole bunch of different ways. Well, I say a whole bunch, I really mean like 4, but, you know, something strategy.
No, we're okay.
You can specialize the hell out of it, if you're willing to put in the time and effort.
But for the most part, you can just throw all the items that you have at whatever monster you are leveling up at the time. You won't really go wrong. But hey, we finally got our 3-person parties, so we can get back to the game actually being interesting.
And these Hoplites have seen a little bit of an upgrade from 13 because their basic attack does wounding, which is obnoxious, but not particularly. But there, as you can see here, like, see, the Zwerg Scandroid was dead, so when I changed to diversity, Cat Sheed is also dead.
Good job on that. Anyway, this is, like, right at the start of the game is also one of the few points at which the game is going to be anything remotely approaching balanced. Because, like I said, once the monsters get going, gonna be fun times.
Yeah, once you start down the monster train, that's the point at which the game just kind of gives up. Also, side quests. Do you like side quests?
Remember when everyone was complaining that Final Fantasy XIII only really had one side quest and they wish there were more? Well, Square Enix have heard your feedback. And have responded. By putting a bunch of dumb shit everywhere without really going into much detail about why it would be a good idea or why it would be any fun or why it would be something worthwhile in a video game.
Yep, it's mostly they're pretty much divided into fetch quests and go kill a thing.
This means there's exactly twice the number of different kinds of side quests now. That sounds like something you should put on the back of the box.
Also, yeah, there are Seath still. Although, admittedly, this game uses Seath much more sparingly than 13 did. They're typically reserved for, like, side quests or other big, important fights.
Yeah, it's like... You'd think that with no more Valsea, there'd be no more Lassie, and therefore no more Seath, although maybe all the Seath that already existed are still Seath, but... yeah... whatever.
Yeah, the point is, they're still around, even though they don't get a whole lot of use.
Oh, well, probably for the best. They weren't particularly interesting in either a plot or a mechanical sense. So hey, remember Pulseworks?
Yes, oh, I love the Pulsework Knight. Pulseworks are almost universally Sentinels, and they are ludicrously good at that.
Yeah. Well, just they are basically they do for you what they're doing now when you fight them, which is being big old tanks of HP and defense, except they can't be staggered when they're on your team.
Yeah, like if you were to get a Pulsework Knight from here, which is the second area of the game, you can almost take that guy, like fully upgraded, you can take him probably about halfway through the game before you really need to upgrade him.
You can just spend from here, like the next 20-25 hours of gameplay in Delta Attack and nothing else. Well, maybe sometimes something else. But mostly just, yeah, monsters breaking.
Yeah, that's just one example of how good monsters are.
So yeah, the capturing mechanics aren't really particularly very interesting. It's just you have a set chance at the end of every fight. Why have we gone into live?
Because we're gonna go talk to Noel about something.
So, about
Oh.
Alyssa.
Okay then.
You think we can trust her?
And we're doing this down here because...
Now you're asking for an explanation.
I mean, there's an argument to be made for, they're going somewhere out of the way because they don't want her to overhear. But then they go into this giant cavern where a whole bunch of soldiers are working and presumably it will be echoey as fuck. Like, it would actually be more stealthy to just talk about this outside.
So he ended up heading out alone.
Well, see, right now we're getting a thrilling anecdote about how Noel once was, like, working with this guy, and he was like, yo, I'm going hunting, you're coming with me, and Noel was like, no, fuck you. And then that guy went out and got himself killed.
And we get to experience this whole thing while walking very slowly around an area. Because video games.
So yeah, here's our first gate. The other one, well, actually not the first gate. The first one was back in that little plaza. This is the second one.
Strong one, not me.
Yeah. These optional gates. I'm sure we're going to be finding out more about them later.
The main thing is that, so you'll see that obviously all of those, we saw all those optional areas on the Historia Crux. These optional gates are how we unlock those areas.
So, Alyssa just chimed in over the comms with some crap about being aware of the timelines and the hopping. Did I miss the part where we told her about any of that stuff?
Well, she did say that she was investigating the paradox effect.
Okay.
In as much as one can investigate the paradox effect.
So I guess that timelines and the hopping between is kind of known to be a thing, although nobody does it, or nobody knows how it works, although some people know that it happens, and we seem to have an attack available.
We do. Feral Links are... they run the gauntlet from ludicrously broken to completely useless, depending on the monster who's doing it, but it is a unique attack per monster. Well, mostly unique.
I think in theory they're supposed to be kind of like limit breaky kind of things, except some of them are just thoroughly underwhelming. And am I imagining it, or does it have some kind of mechanic where if you defeat a monster with a feral link, it's more likely to capture it? Or am I just...
That is, in fact, a mechanic, yes.
Well, okay. So I guess even the underwhelming ones are good for something.
Although, for the most part, it is really hard to actually time that so that you can get that.
Well, yeah, you have to use one of the quite good, very damaging ones.
Yeah, also, that invisible chest we passed back there on the right, that's where the second capsule is, just for the record.
Well, of course it's in an invisible chest. I mean, we can't just have regular fetch quests in this game, can we? Everything has to be fucking paradoxes.
Oh, hello.
Well, okay then.
That was something.
Was it? I mean, like, it punched a bunch of stuff, but nothing seems to have gotten broken, and then it just disappeared, and it was like it never happened. Also, Atlas seems to be a lot more visible now.
Detected a large energy surge in the center of the ruins. Another unknown device has appeared.
But a thing happened.
Disappear along with Atlas?
If you say so.
This is a weapon built by humans. They must have designed a way to stop it.
And that machine showing up is no coincidence.
Right.
Two choices.
Well,
We try that new device and hope it
this makes total sense.
or do it the old
Alright, I will give the game credit for one thing.
Regrets? No
You
looking
can, if you really want to, ignore this thing and just go fight Atlas head on.
That seems like a great idea, and we should do that.
Hey, Mog, what do you think about all this?
Oh, of course, why didn't I think to ask Mog?
I like Sarah more than I like Noah. Kupo.
Ouch. You
Well,
know
that
I
was,
have feelings, right?
certainly enlightening.
Oh, I think Mog's insight was about as interesting as anything this game has told us in its actual plot.